right, members of the media, we are joined by the student athletes from Indiana. To my far left, Race Thompson with Miller Kopp and Trayce Jackson-Davis, and we'll open it up for questions. Second row.
Trayce, throughout the Tom Bruce, Sports Illustrated Indiana, throughout the whole Big Ten season, you always had 2 nights, 3 nights, whatever, between games, even though it was a grind. This weekend, it's really just one. I was wondering if you could just sort of take me through, like last night, what time you finally got to sleep, what sort of treatment work you do on your body today, and what even tomorrow, leading into a Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is just resting our bodies. We got out of here about 3 a.m., so some of us didn't get to sleep until 4 to 5. And so we're going to do a lot of resting today, do a little bit of shooting just to get our bodies active. And then just recovery. Timmy G, Dr. Rink, they both do a great job in helping us get whatever we need to do. And so, that's basically the biggest thing. It's not the first time we played. We played back-to-back before. We did last year when we played in the Big Ten tournament. We did this year in the Big Ten tournament. So we just got to go out there and compete.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. Trayce, I think you may have played Nigel once or twice in high school. Just how have you, as you get ready for Miami, how have you seen him grow? How's he different as a player, and how does he fit into a backcourt that has a lot of points between those 3 guys?
Yeah, Nigel's a great player. Their backcourt is really, really good. But just watching him just grow throughout high school and just blossom into the player that he is now, just being able, the way he shoots the ball and then passing, and his ability to attack the rim is huge keys and huge developments that he's been able to work on. And so I'm excited. It's not every day you get to play someone that you grew up really close to. So.
Our right side here, and then we'll come back over. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, second row here. Go ahead.
Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. If all 3 of you wouldn't mind giving your scouting report on Miami, especially, the game last night, what they did at the end of that game, and then for Trayce, Norchad Omier, what you think it'll be like, what kind of player you think he is.
They, obviously they're a really good team. Offensively, they're dangerous. They're probably one of the best, if not the best offense in the ACC, averaging over 80 points a game. So, they get out in transition. They shoot a lot of threes in transition, and so that's really one of their strengths. And for us, it's going to be about taking care of the ball and making sure we have a good shot every possession.
Yeah, Miami's a really good team. Is this working?
Yes. Go ahead.
They're a really good team. Like Miller said, they're really good in transition. Try to get back in transition. Take them out of their stuff a little bit, but it really comes down to us. Our defense works very well when we're keying in together. So, we're really just focused on what we do, and then again, just kind of familiarize ourselves with what they do, so we can kind of see some things coming.
Yeah, I agree. They play a really fast up-tempo offense. But then on Omier, he's a great player. He plays a lot bigger than what his size is, and he's very active. He plays with a lot of energy, and it's going to be a battle, and I can't wait. So,
Trayce, Mike Schumann with the Daily Hoosier. You've been playing a lot more of a face-up game lately. Using crossover dribbles. Last night might have been the first time I've ever seen you go between the legs to attack somebody. Take us through the backstory of the kind of the development of your ball handling ability over the last year, because it seems like it's changed quite a bit.
It's really always been there. You can even ask Race. We've always played open gyms and stuff of that nature, and I would take the ball up the court, and then he would say, well, until I see it in an actual game, I won't believe it. And so I said, all right, bet this is the year that it's going to happen. And so
That is true.
Just being able to just have the freedom to do stuff like that, try to set up my teammates, try to put pressure on the rim. It's been great for me in my development, and then props to Coach Woodson for letting me do it.
Far left, go ahead.
Roger Rubin from New York Newsday. Hey, guys. Guys, I want to ask you a little bit about Coach Woodson here. It's Indiana University, so it's obviously a huge thing in Indiana, but it's also kind of a big thing nationwide. What do you think it is about Coach Woodson that, in such a fishbowl with so much scrutiny and so many people paying attention, that he, functions so well? What is it about his personality?
Well, the first thing is he has zero social media. So he's old school. He doesn't know what anyone says, nor does he care. So
Still has his flip phone.
yeah, he still has a flip phone. So he is someone that is just he's a great guy. He would do anything for any of us, but at the same time, he's all about business. He's always locked in. He meets with the coaches every day for 3 to 4 hours, just working on stuff to help our team. But he bleeds Indiana basketball, and I think that's the reason why he came back, because he wanted to help put this place back on the map, and he's done a great job of that so far.
Miller, go ahead. Miller, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just going off Trayce, I think Coach Woody's at a point, and I'm not gonna speak for him, but I think he's just done so much in his career that at this point in his career, he's seen it all. He's seen so much basketball and experienced so much that nothing gets to him now, and he understands the big picture of it all, and he knows that it's about the guys in the locker room and the guys in the the staff and everybody included in the everyday process, and so he he's just focused on us and doesn't care about really anything else.
Race, your comments?
Yeah, they pretty much covered it all. He's seen it all. He's been around the game longer than we've been alive, and he loves to say that.
He does, or you do? That's the clarification.
They pretty much covered it. That's really all I can say.
Sixth row here, Gray.
Miller, Keegan Nixon with thehoosier.com. Miller, when the opposition is talking so much about shutting down Trayce, shutting down Jalen, is that going to get you excited going into a game knowing that you will probably have more offensive opportunities from the three?
That's every game. Start to finish from our first game to now. That's kind of, I know that's the game plan. Obviously, some teams do a little, some things different, but I also, coming into every game, I know that most of my shots are going to come from Trayce and Fino too in transition. So I know where I'm getting most of my looks, and Trayce knows too, because he's the one passing them to me most of the time. So I'm excited every game really, because I kind of know how teams are playing and the guy guarding me specifically as well.
Trayce, you've become sort of on this short list of great Indiana players with all you've accomplished in your 4 years. And you've been able to share that the last couple of years with Coach Woodson, who's on that list of great players too. Like, how much have you enjoyed just that part of your relationship with him, of sort of knowing the great things that both of you have accomplished at Indiana?
It's been great. I try not to dwell on it that much because we're still in season, but me and him joke about it. We're both very competitive. I remember when I was about to pass him, I was cracking jokes at him, and he was kind of mad about it. But after it happened, he was very emotional and he was very proud. And so just being able to share moments like that with another outstanding player like himself is huge. So, yeah.
Abigail Rebel, Times Union. This one's for any of you guys. Do you think getting a pretty comfortable win last night gives you any kind of advantage going into tomorrow's game?
Absolutely not. Every game in this tournament is a dogfight, and just because you play really well against one team doesn't mean that you're going to come out and it's going to be the same. So we got to be prepared, we got to be locked in, and we got to be ready to play, because I know Miami wants to get to that next round just as bad as we do, and so it's going to be a slugfest and it's going to be a brawl. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
For Miller or Race, Miami has 5 guys shooting above 35% from 3 right now. Do you get a Penn State vibe when you watch them, or who do they remind you of on film from who you've played this year?
I'm not sure who they remind me of, but it's definitely a threat. They have really good shooters, really good players on the perimeter, and really all around. So, we watching film this morning. We know we got to find shooters in transition. We know we got to be a little bit higher in our help side defense. I can't name a team that they remind me of. Maybe they're like Penn State, but I don't know. I haven't watched enough yet, but I'll watch more later.
Go ahead, left side. Yep.
Hey, Trayce. Luke Chain with Life Wild Sports. Just, given that Miami, as you said, is an up-tempo team, just what challenges does that sort of tempo present upon your defense?
I just think the biggest thing for our defense is just sticking with our tendencies, limiting transition runs, and just not letting them speed us up. I think that's the biggest thing. Games in the 60s for us is a lot better than games in the 70s and 80s, and so that's what we're going to try to do, and we got to stick to our game plan.
Go ahead.
Race, Tom Canavan with the Associated Press. You've been at Indiana, this is what, your 6th year? And I mean, you've had knees and groins and concussions. I mean, are you just thankful you're here now? Because when you were speaking last night, it sounded like you'd been playing hurt.
Yeah, I'm truly just grateful to be here in the moment. When I got hurt in my knee earlier in the season, I really thought it was over with. And I've said that before, but I mean, just being here after everything I've been through my time at Indiana, I'm just grateful to be here, being able to play next to these guys and my other teammates.
Following up on what you said about, they do want to play a transition game against you guys, and I asked him because yesterday they played very well defensively at the end of that game to win the game, and I said, will you have success if you can keep it a low-scoring game? He said, no, we want to get out in transition. Do you think they could be successful against you guys in a lower-scoring game like they had yesterday?
Absolutely. I don't necessarily think it's a knock on them if we try to keep it low-scoring. I meant it more as that's just how we like to play. But I think any team in this tournament, at the end of the day, you got to be a winner to get in. You got to win a bunch of games, close games, and so at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the possession by possession, and whoever executes better is going to win. And so that's what I meant by that.
Back row left.
William McDermott inside the hall. Guys, you guys are all seniors. Obviously, these moments are fleeting for you guys, but there's business to be handled. Yesterday, did you guys find yourself kind of just taking it all in, looking around? You know, as any of these games could be your last ones together, and how do you guys kind of work through those emotions?
I mean, kind of just adds fuel to the fire. Every time we put that uniform on, it could be the last time you put it on. So I remember I told Trayce that tomorrow's not promised right before the game, and we kind of joked about it because of the Rocky movie, but. Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's not promised. So, I mean, you go out there, you get everything you got, and you kind of got to live with the result as long as you're leaving it out on the court.
Miller, you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's definitely a thought that goes in your head. I mean, you want to play, like it could be your last game, for the university because it, very well could be. So, my goal, and I think everybody else's too, is to, make this season as long as possible. And, we're taking it day by day and enjoying the process and, coming in locked in every day and trying to extend our season.
Yeah, just to piggyback, on what they said, really just since the start of this last week, kind of hits you where you're going through your last practices leading up to the first game. You're kind of nervous going out there. But at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and play. At any time, it could be your last time stepping foot on the court, whether it be from playing your last game or from injury, and so that's kind of how I look at it, where every time I step out on the court, I think it's my last time I'm going to be out there. And so but just being able to play with these guys for this year and last year, a race 4 years, but it's been a blessing, and it's kind of hits close to home, and it makes you want to play a little bit harder so you can keep your season going.
For all three of you, last night right before tip-off, posted a picture of the 5 of you starters kind of huddled up with Xavier right before this game started. And obviously he's had to miss a lot of this stuff. But what's it just meant for you guys, just sort of him still being engaged and being a part of what's going on between your ears?
Yeah, Xavier, even though he's been hurt, he's still been a huge part of our team. Even in the locker room, whether he's playing, like I remember against Northwestern, when we were playing at Northwestern in the locker room, he got us really fired up. He was fired up. He was trying to get us going, and then we came out and we started playing well. And so he does stuff like that just, even though he's not on the court, he's still our point guard. He's still our leader, and he's using his voice and being vocal, hyping us up on the bench. And we need it from him because it gives our players confidence.
Miller?
Yeah, I mean, you see, him on the bench. Shot goes up. He's the first one to put his hand up, saying it's 3 ball, and he's the biggest cheerleader on the bench, really. Him and Anthony and Leo, I think, are go nuts over there. So it means a lot because he can't affect the game on the court, but he's impacting the team and the game off the court, on the bench, in the huddles, in the locker room, and stuff like that. So he's definitely doing as much as he can while he can't play.
Race?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a great teammate. You couldn't really ask for a better teammate than X. Like they said, he's the first one cheering. He's paid attention in the scout, so he knows what's going on. He's hollering out plays. And again, he's a leader in the locker room, just keeping everybody together, keeping it light when it needs to be light, being serious when it needs to be serious. So I think just him being that great teammate and being a really good leader has helped us get to this point.
Last one. Thank you.
Trayce, Tom Canavan with the AP. You said last night early in your news conference that your hip pointer was bothering you. Is that a common occurrence, or is that like just last night, or how is it now?
It's good now. Just got to keep getting treatment on it. Just get it to the best possibilities to be able to play. I did it actually at the very beginning of the game on yesterday, and so I still played pretty well. But it's just something that I just need to play through. It's not really that big of a deal to me. I played injured before. I played with little knacks and bruises. Those guys have too. It's something that you deal with in college basketball. So,
Student athletes, thank you very much.
He's
See
just
you
fine.
tomorrow.
He's good.
We'll be joined by Coach Woodson in a few moments. Thank you. Media, we're joined by head coach Mike Woodson, and we'll open it up to questions. We'll start here in the front row. One moment.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. Mike, somebody just asked about X and just the role he's tried to fill as he's not been able to play, and maybe particularly as it's become clear that he won't come back this season. What is he bringing when you can't put him in uniform, but it seems like he's still active on the bench, active in huddles, things like that?
Another coach. I think he's been excellent for Jalen and guys that handle the basketball out front. He's been good in that area. And, coming into this season, none of us thought we would lose Xavier Johnson, because he was such a big piece to the puzzle last year. And he's continued to work a little bit, can't do much still. And we're working our butts off to try to bring him back for next season. So, and only time will tell if that will happen. But he's been a positive, for our ball club, even though he hasn't been able to dress and play.
Mike, Tom Bruce, Sports Illustrated, Indiana. With all that Trayce has accomplished in his career, he's certainly on a short list of great Indiana players, and obviously you're on that list as well. In your 2 years with him, how much have you enjoyed just sort of seeing him excel at the level he is, and the just the personal interactions you've had? And because he did mention when he passed you on the scoring list that he was kind of ribbing you a little bit and you didn't like that much.
Well, I mean, records are meant to be broken, but when I think about where we started, trying to get guys to stay on board, to stay on the team, I mean, that, for me, was the most humbling experience when I took this job, when you sit guys down and you give them an all-star speech and you ask guys to raise their hand and see who's going to stay on board, and all the guys were walk-ons. That's very humbling. And, the fact that I went to the top and I started with Trayce Jackson-Davis and he gave me the opportunity to coach him, it's been kind of nice to see where we started and where he is today. And there's been major, major improvement. I mean, you guys see it on a night in and night out basis, and we see it every day in practice, and once we play the game, it's been a nice carryover into the ball games. My coaching staff has done an excellent job in helping me get him to this point.
Back left and then up here.
Roger Rubin from New York Newsday. Hey, Mike.
How we doing?
Mike, the University of Indiana basketball program is not just popular in Indiana, but it's got sort of a national audience. And you have a job that is probably one of the most highly scrutinized in college basketball. Were there a set of skills that you learned when you were playing and coaching in New York, or a mindset that you think you have been able to apply in this job to help you deal with all of that?
It's a great question, because I think back to when I first got into coaching and my journey as an assistant coach to get to the top to be a head coach. And once I became a head coach in Atlanta, when I got my first gig there, it was very humbling, because I had just come off of winning an NBA title with the great Larry Brown and that crew. And I took a young team from nothing back to the top in Atlanta. And it took me 4 years to do it. And in doing it, I just thought it didn't matter where I coached and who I coached. I honestly thought, and I don't mean this in a braggadocious way, that I could get a team to win. And if you were around during the Knick days, there's nothing like New York. And when it comes to the media and how they scrutinize and wiggle their way into your into your world, and it wasn't fun at times, but my walk of life in New York when I coached the Knicks was unbelievable, because we did some things there that hadn't been done in a long, long time. So I've been able as a coach to learn on the fly and deal with the media like yourself, and it's what it is. I understand you guys have a job to do, but I have a job to do as well. And Indiana hadn't changed. Just like New York Knicks, they hadn't changed. When I played there in 1980, 81, it was the same. And it's still the same. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I love the New York Knicks. Indiana has been the same from the time I stepped foot in there in 76 until now. It hasn't changed. Our fan base has been great, and our media expects us to win, and that's how it should be.
Right here.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Rick Bozich, WDRB in Louisville. Speaking of that, you played and you had a great career at Indiana, but you didn't get what Quinn and Isaiah and Randy and Steve got, which is the national championship. As you've gotten older, have you viewed that as sort of a void in your career at all? And what would it mean for Trayce to get Indiana back where it used to be?
It's a big void. you don't come to college basketball, especially at Indiana, back during that time and not expect to win a Big Ten or a national title, because that's how it should be, and that's how it was under the great Bob Knight. And I honestly thought my senior year we were right there, heading in the right direction, and then injuries happen. And it's a part of sports, man. You know, sometimes, you know, you can walk into a situation. I tell Larry Brown this all the time in Detroit. He had to be the luckiest coach, not only a great coach, but one of the luckiest coaches, because we had no problems that year with that Detroit Piston team. That team was meant to win, and he was the driving force behind it. That doesn't happen all the time in sports. And unfortunately for me, my senior year, you know, we got hurt. Randy broke his foot. I had back surgery, was able to come back, but we didn't get it done. So, yeah, there is a void. And as a coach, I didn't come back to IU just to coach Indiana basketball. I want to win some Big Ten titles and a national title. And, you know, we got a chance just like all the teams that are left in this tournament, you know, and I'm not selling them on anything less than that, you know, and we'll see what happens. Only time will tell.
Mike, Todd Golden with CNHI. Miami has an experienced backcourt, tournament experienced backcourt at that. What's your level of concern over that? And is there's a way you can X and O tendencies on the court, but can you attempt to try to take them out of the poise that they've built up over their careers?
Again, they're coach-driven. They have a great coach, man, that's polished, that's been there, done it, and they're a reflection of their coach. And I get it, you know. So I know our team has got to come in and commit for 40 minutes and see what happens, man. I mean, that's the only way I can tell our team. You can't run from it. We got Miami tomorrow. They're a great team, well coached. We got to come in and commit on both ends of the floor for 40 minutes to see what happens.
Go ahead, and then left.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Mike Schumann with the Daily Hoosier. How much of a weapon has Trayce become facing the basket, catching the ball on the perimeter, driving? It seems like that's improved significantly over the course of this season. Has that opened things up for you this year offensively? And what did he do to develop those skills that you've seen over the last couple of years?
Well, we've been able to put him in those positions in practice, and it's been a nice carryover in the game. We've been trying to move him around, you know, out on the floor. And, you know, I think what's helped him more than anything is the fact that he's been able to rebound the ball and push the ball out and initiate our break. You know, I mean, we've given him the latitude to do that, and I think he's fulfilled that position real well. I mean, we're benefiting from it, the Millers and the Gallows, whoever gets in front of the ball, you know. He's been a guy that's willing to pass it, so it makes it kind of nice to see him doing things like that.
Mike, this is Andrew Chernoff with Wish TV in Indianapolis. Have you ever seen a locker room rally behind a headband as much as yours did last night with Miller's headband?
Shit, I didn't even notice it. Yeah. The one thing I did notice, him making shots. That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care about no headbands.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Mike, how much of a luxury is it to have Jalen available when Xavier gets injured, to have that caliber of a player to kind of turn the team over to in some capacity?
It was huge, because I think when we all set out to recruit Jalen Safino, I was his biggest fan. I mean, Ya and Kenyon, you know, they introduced the young man, and I just couldn't get enough of him doing the AAU tournaments and going and watching him in high school. And, you know, I made it very clear I have to get Jalen Safino in an Indiana uniform. That was my first really priority. And it's worked out, because, again, I never thought I would lose Xavier. I really didn't. You know, I thought that Xavier, even though I was going to start them both, Xavier would teach him and tutelage him along the way, and we just never got to it enough. And basically, we've thrown Jalen to the wolves, you know, and he's kind of handled it, man. I mean, he's been poised. He's had his ups and downs, man. But for the most part, we are sitting here playing Miami because Jalen Safino has had a good freshman season.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star again. Mike, forgive me. I know it's sort of a loaded question to ask you this about your own player, but especially given your NBA background, having to prepare for guys on short turnarounds and things like that, how would you go about preparing for a player like Trayce that's not just the points and the rebounds, but the defensive presence, his passing ability, his ability to affect the game in so many different ways?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, he does so many things, and trust me, every team that we play, I'm sure they're sitting there saying, well, we got to do this, do that. But there's not one thing he can't do on the floor. And it makes a coach that's sitting there preparing for him, it makes you wonder, you know, how can you stop this guy? Now, you know, there's been teams that have doubled him so much. I mean, I think back to the Purdue game there, you know, he patiently waited until the right time towards the end of that game to really make his move. And that he just sacrificed his game, and most superstars will struggle with that. And I've seen it so much over the years in the NBA, they just feel like that they got to get theirs. And he sacrificed that night until the right time, man, and it was really nice to see because a lot of the players around him truly benefited that night at Purdue.
Aiden Jolly, Daily Gazette. Mike, what are you expecting out of the Miami offense tomorrow, in particular Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack?
Well, I know Wong struggled yesterday. You know, he's been their kind of go-to guy. Pack has been solid all season. I thought he carried them yesterday against Drake after watching it. Then their big fella inside is a workhorse. He does a lot of good things for their ball club. So they're not a one-man show. You know, they got 4 guys that average in double figures. So there are key matchups all over the floor that we got to really focus in on and concentrate for 40 minutes.
Mike, one of the things that didn't really get talked about too much last night was the job that Trey did on the carry kit. And when your perimeter defense has been good this year, you guys have been really good. Can you talk just a little bit about what he provided last night, and obviously the carry over to the Miami guards tomorrow?
Well, again, you know, Curry was kind of the head of the snake. You know, we knew that going in for Kent State, and was a key matchup. And I thought our guys really played him, tried to make his catches tough, tried to really get into him and handling the basketball, and we had some success. But it's just not one guy. I don't teach team defense as one guy. You know, we gotta all sacrifice for the sake of the team, and when there's a breakdown, you gotta trust that somebody's there to help you. So that's kind of how we have built our defensive system.
Griffin Epstein, the Hoosier Network. Coach, when you've looked at Miami on tape, what is the biggest challenge you see from them?
Well, they're perimeter driven. You know, I mean, they got perimeter play that sits at the top in college basketball. They do a lot of good things from their perimeter, and the big fella inside, he's a banger. He works. So, like I said, there's not one key guy. There's a number of guys that we gotta focus in on and lock in and play them for 40 minutes.
Last one.
Coach Paul Snyder, the Montauk Sun. He's going to want to get out and transition against you guys, and you've said defense wins championships. They won yesterday with a press, full court press in the last 2 minutes of game and a 10-0 run. They can win that style of game. Is it a battle of wills, your style over their styles, or is it NCAA, March Madness, possession by possession, who's going to win this game?
All the above. No, really. I mean, it's the team that doesn't turn it over. offensively and get good shots, handles the pressure of being pressed, and defensively getting after them and taking things away that they like to do. And then when you do that, you got to finish it with rebounding. So, I mean, if we're able to do those things, then it should be a competitive game.
Coach, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right.
Our game times tomorrow: St. Mary's in Connecticut at 6:10 p.m. Eastern and Miami, Indiana at 8:40 p.m. Eastern. Hammond Communications